Hi everyone, thanks for having me today. I'm very happy to be with you at iOS SG or Singapore conference for the first time for me. My name is Moataz Nabil. I'm working as a developer advocate at Bitrise. Bitrise is a mobile CI/CD platform as a service. Today, I have an interesting topic for me, especially it's about test automation. It's about how we can scale up iOS automated UI test with different practices and different set of tools. Previously, I was working as a test automation engineer and I started my career as a software engineer. I worked with different business domains like agriculture, telecom, healthcare, fashion, and food delivery. Also, I participated and designed many test automation frameworks for web, mobile, and API with different languages and tools. And now I'm focusing on helping developers to implement different CI/CD pipelines for for their mobile apps using Bitrise and how we can deliver our applications faster with a good quality. At the beginning, let's talk a little bit or briefly about automated UI testing in iOS in general. And then after that, we can jump to our topic today, how we can scale up and how we can tackle this challenge. Mobile test automation is becoming a vital part, is not nice to have, it's become mandatory thing that we need to start thinking about if we wanted to apply the mobile DevOps cycle. DevOps is a development and operations. This is a process for delivering apps from development to testing, deploying, and like monitoring the applications after deployment. So it's a different cycles, and test automation is vital part in this cycle because without test automation, we can't deliver mobile apps to our customers. In the ever-growing complexity of technology, automated testing is a solution as well to provide us with three things: high quality, robust, and reliable apps to achieve cost optimization as well. Because if we are calculating the return of investments from implementing a test automation, and if we found that we have an investment or we have a good investment in test automation, this will be affect our applications as well. So we will deliver high quality, robust, reliable app, and also we will optimize our cost, even under massive competitive pressure. Writing UI test, as I mentioned, is not nice to have anymore. So in different companies now, the responsibility of a mobile test automation or writing the UI test, it becomes shared between the mobile engineers and test engineers or the automation test engineers as well. So now the collaboration, or if we are working in agile environment and a Scrum as well, so we are working in a cross-platform, and we can also share our responsibility for test automation between the team members as well. At the beginning, let's talk briefly about the different iOS test frameworks that we have now in the market. This is the latest, or this is maybe the famous test automation frameworks that most of the developers or test engineers are using nowadays. We have three different frameworks to write UI tests for iOS apps, such as XUI test, which is from Apple, Early Grey from Google, and Appium is an open source project. Let's start briefly talking about Appium. Appium is an open source framework that supports many programming languages. You can write your test script with different programming languages like Java, Ruby, PHP, and C Sharp as well. And also it's possible to automate UI testing for both platforms, Android and iOS. So it's a cross-platform and also it's an open source. And also you can test the native web and hybrid apps. And behind the scenes or under the hood, Appium uses XC test UI testing feature to be able to automate the iOS test cases or to be able to automate the iOS applications. Early Grey, this is a second framework. Early Grey is the native iOS automation framework. The native means that it's only for iOS applications, so it's not cross-platform like Appium. So Appium is cross-platform for Android and iOS, but Early Grey is a native for only iOS applications, developed by Google. And Early Grey integrates into app code as well to speed up test execution. So here we have a pros and cons between the cross-platform open source and the native. Native will be integrated into our code base or into our application, so it will be easy to speed up the testing execution and the implementation as well. So test engineers can write tests both in Swift and Objective-C, but mainly we are now using almost Swift. as a default language for iOS applications directly in Xcode. So you can open the source code of the app and start writing the UI test for this and execute the test runs from there. But today I will be talking about, or we will focus on the XUI test, so which is the native framework from Apple, and this is what we will use in our demo today. So the third option is, or the third framework is XUI test. Is the UI testing framework developed by Apple, and it's based on the XC test or XT test run unit test performance and UI tests written in Swift and Objective-C as well. So it's a native like Early Grey, but it's developed with Apple. One of the advantages like Early Grey for using XUI test is a collaboration between developers. So if we wanted to share the responsibility between the test engineers and the developers, so we should use a native tool like Early Grey or XUI test to be able to start working on the same code base, the same project, and also start sharing the responsibility for writing the UI test. So you are using the same language to write the code, collaboration becomes easy, and which helps them better understand the app functionality. For example, developers can understand the applications, the different screens when they are start writing the UI test and move from one screen to another screen. So this will also give us higher quality apps. Moreover, it's already pre-built into Xcode, as I mentioned, because it's native. So basically, no need to install or download anything else if you already have Xcode. Now, let's talk about problems. Let's assume that we already using XUI test and we have a set of test plans, or we have a test cases. We have maybe 100 or 200, or maybe test cases are like increasing every day or every week because we usually writing UI tests. So the problems now, we have different problems we need to tackle, or we need to find a solution to be able to tackle all of these challenges. The business is growing. That means that we are adding more features in our applications. The team is scaling as well. So the team is scaling and becoming a large engineering team. So this is also another challenge. So now we have a lot of test cases, and we need to figure out how we can run most of them, but in like or reducing the time for running them. We need to run them, but in like we need to reduce the runtime as well. So because that scaling here is a challenge or is a problem for our team, we have hundreds of test cases or UI test cases, and we need to figure out how we can run them. The build time is affected as well on the CI server. So if we are integrated our test scripts with the CI server, this is affecting also the build time, because this is taking a huge time for running UI tests. And even if we are increasing or adding more tests, this will be also affect this CI server. And sometimes we have flaky UI tests, which is maybe required sometimes to retry run the test cases again, or maybe we can find a mechanism. Maybe the CI server is not stable or not suitable for our iOS application or our iOS stack. So we need to find a problem. We need to find a solution for this problem. One of the interesting, or one of the challenges as well in this area, most of the organizations are still struggling with it. It's the scalability of running multiple tests in parallel. So how we can stabilize running multiple test cases, or how we can run multiple test cases in parallel, but as well as with scalability and stability as well for the UI testing. Because that our topic today, how to scale up the iOS test cases. We have different options and we have different solutions, and third-party tool we can use it. For example, we have the default or we have the options that inside the Xcode, for example, Xcode barrel options that we can like change the configuration that we wanted to run our test cases in parallel, which is also in the latest Xcode. We have also different options like retry on failure and the test repetition as well, that Apple announced in the WWDC and the latest WWDC in the last year. Another option is a Fastlane. So we can use a tool, it's called Fastlane, and we can use a plugin, it's called Multiscan. This helps us to run UI test or split our UI test in different devices at the same time and start running them on different devices. We have Firebase Test Lab and the Flink as well. Firebase Test Lab, this is from Google, and you can run iOS test cases on a physical devices on Firebase Test Lab. And using Flink, Flink is a wrapper helps us to split the test cases as well in different threads or in different simulators or emulators or real device, and then start running them at the same time. And the last one is a Blue Pill. Blue Pill as well is an open source tool from LinkedIn. It's developed by LinkedIn from the beginning, but it's now an open source under the foundation on a GitHub. But today I will focus about one option, because if we are talking about all of them, it will take more time. So today I will mention the Fastlane, or I will talk about the Fastlane and the Multiscan plugin. So let's jump and learn what is, or learn how, or what is the Fastlane. Fastlane is an open source platform that lets you to automate every aspect of your development and release workflow. So it's an open source platform, is a Ruby based, and it's help us to development and release different workflows for iOS and Android application. It's especially for mobile apps. It's the easiest way to build and release mobile applications. Fastlane's automation tasks. So it's a different tasks. It's called the lanes. So you have different lanes or different tasks, and each task can save your hours, especially when you push a new release to the App Store or a beta testing, for example. It offers easy setup, runs on your machines, and integrate with all major CI systems such as Bitrise and all of the CI servers. How we can getting started with Fastlane. So to install and configure Fastlane, you should have Homebrew on macOS and the Bundler as well. And because we are using Ruby, so we should also configure Ruby in our machine. And then inside your project or inside your iOS application, you can just run this command line, Fastlane init or Fastlane initialize. So this will give you a folder in your application. It's called Fastlane, and inside this folder, you can select one of these options to configure in your Fastlane. For example, automate screenshots, automate beta distribution for test flight, or automate App Store distribution. Or we can select number 4 for manual setup, because we will use it for iOS UI testing, which is not now about screenshot or beta distribution. And once you created the folder, inside the folder, you will find 3 files as the app file, fast file, and the plugin file. Mainly, we will using a fast file and the plugin file because we will install the plugin file, or we will install our plugin Multiscan inside this file, and we will use a fast file to build our lanes and start running it from the command line. After that, you will have a Fastlane folder. As I mentioned, you can start adding your lanes in different. So this is the default, or this is the file or the Fastlane file. The default platform is iOS. And here, this is the first lane, custom lane, and there is no any action till now. So this is like a template, and you can for sure remove this comment line and start adding your tasks inside this lane. You can for sure change the lane name, the description, and also you can add different actions inside this lane. To run the UI test in parallel, now we have a Fastlane already in our application. So we need to first to install the Fastlane plugin inside our Fastlane folder. So from the command line, we will run this command, Fastlane, add plugin, then we can add test center. Test center is the plugin that we will add, and it's including one option or one feature is a multiscan. So it helps us to run or split our test suite 2 different simulators and start running them in parallel on different devices. So test center plugin to run your tests in parallel with multiple retries as well. They will finish faster, and only the truly failing test will be reported as a failing. So first step, we need to run this command from the command line, Fastlane add plugin test center. Then if we open the plugin file, we will find this inside this plugin file, gem and the Fastlane plugin file. So every time if you wanted to install this plugin or the specific version of this plugin, we can use this file. Then after that, inside our lane fast file, we can add this section inside a one lane, for example, UI testing. So you can add a multi-scan, and here you can specify or configure everything. For example, the project name, the schema, the try count. So here we have features, or we have options related to multi-scan, like try count. For example, I want to try 3 times the failing test cases. Batch count, so I can split the test cases in 4 devices, which is the batch count. Parallel tests run I can run on 4 devices at the same time. Fail build, false. I don't want it to fail the build. And the device name as well. Test run, complete, simulator. So I have also different options in this one. But this is the general, or this is the how we can use a multiscan in our Fastlane file. And then from the command line, once I save this file or this changes, I can run from the command line bundle exec or execution Fastlane unit. So here I am calling the lane that including the multiscan. So here I am calling Fastlane to execute this lane inside my application or inside my folder. So now let's jump to a demo or a quick demo how we can run this in parallel. So now I will jump to the command line. So now I'm inside this project, upcoming movies. This is an open source project. I just like forked it and start using it in my example. So here I have a Fastlane folder as well. So for example, if I open the Fastlane file, Sublime, Fastlane. Let's say, let's take a look about first file first. So now this is the Sublime. So here you have the platform, it's an iOS, and you have a first lane. So here, this is the lane. As I mentioned, it's a Ruby-based file. So because that here is a Ruby programming language. So here, lane, the lane name is test, and then do. Inside this lane, we have a scan command or a scan action. Scan is building the application and run the test as well. So here, this is the workspace, the device, the schema, and the clean. I don't want it to clean. Then we have this specific code for UI important. This will be used for a multiscan. If we scroll down here, we will find the second lane, which is the UI test. And inside the lane, we have a multiscan. But we can't use multiscan here without installing the plugin. So let's jump to the plugin file. If I just Sublime the plugin file as well, or open it. So here I will find I only have one plugin. If you install a lot of plugins, you will find here the list of all the plugins. But for this demo, I just using the Fastlane plugin test center, which is will be used for or by Multiscan. So Multiscan, here I have specific options for multiscans or features. Here, for example, the try count. So here I can specify the name of the trying or how many times I wanted to retry my test cases. Batch count, barrel test runs. So here I can say 3 or 4, or as I know, but it's recommended to not run on more than 3 or like maybe 4 devices at the same time, because as we know, it will consume from the resources of our machines as well, and maybe this will drive us to flaky UI test as well. So maybe 3 or 4, it's enough for a parallel test in the same time. So here, test run complete block, simulator start a callback, and this is option is from this one. So for example, we can print a message like if after test is completed. So I can say everything is fine. Let's continue try first attempt for batch, something like this. Start streaming system look for device and adding the simulator device ID. And if anything, if there is any problem, so we can also delete the device from the run. And here also we have a third lane in our Fastlane. So for sure you can have different tasks or different lane inside your Fastlane file. So here I have a lane which is the lint. So here I can run the Swift lint for my application. So here the mode is lint, the file is Swift lint, and here this is the output. I will put it in the JSON file, and I can add also the config or the configuration file for my Swift lint inside this path. So this is mainly the Fastlane, and this is a plugin file. So from the command line again, if we try to run the multiscan or run the UI test, so I can just bundle exec Fastlane. I can specifying the lane name, for example, iOS and UI test, or I can let's run the Fastlane in general at the beginning and check what will give us as the output. So here Fastlane start running. And here we will have, it's give me welcome to Fastlane. Here's what the app is set up to do. So here I have a list of tasks. For example, if I add number 1, this will run the test, which is including the scan. But if I select number 2, this will run the multiscan or the UI test. If I add 3, this will run the lint. If I click 0, this will be cancel my previous command. So let's run 2. This will be running the UI test. So for example, here we will run the command line. And now we will start building our application. So this is iPhone Plus. This is our device. We can start building. Now we are building our application, and then testing batches for the device. So now start batches or creating batches on the devices. Then we can start to continue with this, or we can wait until test cases to be finished. So now we will notice that we are putting 3 devices, because we configure. If we return back to the configuration, here we found that we are specifying here we need 3 test run count. So because that here we are running start test number 1 and 2 and 3, because that we are putting iOS iPhone 8 Plus, clone 1, clone 2, and clone 3. So we will wait until this finish. And one more thing about this Multiscan, here we have another option till the run finish. So here we have collect reports. This is one option as well, because you can imagine that we are running it now on 3 devices, which will be 3 different test reports or 3 different output or tests, because we are splitting our UI test or test suite to like subset of test cases. So here also we have option with Multiscan that we can collect reports by true, so we can collect or we can combine all the reports in one single report at the end. So here we can use Multiscan. There is also more than these options you can check on the Fastlane or this plugin command line. So for example, Fastlane plugin test center, this is an open source, and you can check all the options that for Multiscan. So here now we are running. So this is a device number as well. So we can wait until we finish this one. After the test is finished, now we are shutting down our devices, and now we can check the test results. So here we have the Multiscan. So this is the result. So this is the total number of test cases. So we have a result in a table, and also you can find the JUnit report and the HTML report in this path. So for example, if we go to the Fastlane and check this folder. So here we have a folder for the test report. Then if we open this folder, so here we will find that the test report is including report with the JUnit format and report with HTML format. So if we double click on this one, here you will find that the report is using Xcode. So this is the Xcode, and here are all the test cases that we are running inside or in our test suite. If there is any failure, you will find it in the failed test cases, and also the Multiscan will retry based on the number of the retrying that we configure in our Multiscan. So this is the report, and this is the Multiscan. You can also scroll up and see if there is any problem. So here, this is the worker number 3. The worker number 2, you will find all the workers as devices. So worker number 1, and this is the description and the test suite and the test cases that run in this worker, because as I mentioned, we split the test cases in different or subset of UI testing. So this is the Multiscan, and this is how we can use a Fastlane and Multiscan. If we open this project, you can find here the schema. So for example, if we open the upcoming movies project and click edit schema, we need just to double check what is configured here in the test plan. So here, and under the test, we have a test movies or upcoming movies. And if you click on the test plan, you will find that here we have upcoming movie test, and also we are enabling the execute in barrel. Here, all the test cases that we are configured for as 62 test cases, and also you can have more. You can add different test plans as well, and you can configure it to run it on different lanes. So you can specify the lane, or you can like doing a custom solutions inside your Fastlane with Multiscan and your test cases as well. So this is mainly how we can run a Multiscan and using Multiscan for parallelize the Fastlane. So now let's continue our the second part in our presentation, which is how we can run Fastlane and Bitrise or in your CI server. So Bitrise, as I mentioned, is a CI/CD platform as a service. So it helps you to build and operate better mobile apps faster. Through Bitrise, developers automate the process required for integrating, testing, and deployment for your mobile apps. So, for example, here this is our Fastlane. For iOS, you can add here run CocoaPods or install the CocoaPods in your application. Add one step for Fastlane. We have more than 330 steps. All of them are open source, and you can use all of them to build your workflow or specifying your workflow. Now, if you open Bitrise, so we can like log into Bitrise. So let's quickly jump to Bitrise and check how does it work with a Bitrise and a Fastlane. So here, this is the dashboard. If you have more than one application, you will find the list of apps here. This is the latest build, and also there is the integration for the Bitrise steps. If I go to my upcoming movies project, here I will find that you can specifying the workflow, you can edit or configure your workflows. You can have here the latest build, different statuses, you can filter them as well. And if you jump to the workflow, you can start adding or removing or updating all the workflows in your application. So for example, here, this is a primary workflow. You can use Xcode test for running a UI test as well. You can use a specific step for running a Swiftlint. You just need to configure where is the Swiftlint YAML file. But if you jump to, or if we jump to the iOS Fastlane, this is a configuration. So here we have lane. This is a Fastlane step, and it's pretty easy to add a Fastlane here. So we don't need to install, as I mentioned at the beginning, if we are using our local machines, we need to install Ruby, we need to install Homebrew, all the stuff that should be required for Fastlane. But here you just need to add a Fastlane or Fastlane match. This is for installing the certificate and the provisioning profile for your iOS application. But this is Fastlane. If we just click on Fastlane, you just need to specifying what the name of this lane. For example, here we have one UI test, so we have one for length, and for example, we can add a test. So if we go back to our lane, so for example, this is the lane name. So you can add the test, and here we can just specify this lane name. So here we have a Fastlane UI test, and then we can export the test result to our test report add-on. So this is mainly how we can use it. And because also we mentioned different like tools or third-party tools that we can use. Also, we can have one or another workflow for Bluepill. Also, we have a step for Bluepill. You just wanted to configure the target name, the schema, and the version of the Bluepill, and also the workspace. And this will be using a Bluepill, the open source project. And if you wanted to use a Flink with Firebase Lab, also we have one step for Flink. You just need to have, or it's required to have a JSON account for the Google service account, to have a Google account. And then you need to specify the Flink YAML file. You can generate it in previous step, or you can have it in your source code, and then you can start using it. One more thing about the Bluepill, the Fastlane. So if we go to the Fastlane, also in the stack and the machines, you can always have the latest versions of the Xcode and the macOS with Bitrise. So that's pretty easy to downgrade or upgrade your stack to be able to start running your UI test on the latest that match your local machines. And also because we are using a credit base, so here we have different technical specs to help you to speed up your UI tests. So there is different mechanism. We just talked today about how we can parallelize UI tests, but you can also parallelize the workflow as well. So you can split this workflow in different or sub of workflows, and then you can combine them or combine the result at the end, and then publish the test report to any other third-party tool or any other report or URL. So this mainly was like a quick demo about how we can run a barrel and on Bitrise and locally as well. So the conclusion at the end, we learned today that the test automation is a vital part of a mobile DevOps. CI/CD is a coordination or continuous delivery, continuous integration, and the continuous delivery is a coordination process for handling our process or DevOps processes. And the testing is a shared responsibility and the whole team approach. So this is mainly the three things that we learned today. And also we learned different tools, how we can scale up and how we can run our test cases in different devices in parallel at the same time. These are the resources. You can find the GitHub repository for the demo that I used today, the test center plugin. This is the plugin or the Multiscan plugin. Here you can find how we can parallelize the build and the test on Bitrise. This is a blog post about this one. And this also hands to decreasing duration iOS using Fastlane. This is our topic today. And this is the link for Flank using Firebase. And this is a blue pill. It's now under a mobile native foundation organization, but previously it was from LinkedIn. So thank you. And if you have any questions, so I'm here with you. So I'm happy to answer all of your questions. Thank you and have a nice day.